Good morning, kittens. Mage here. Over at the Geek Den, we are always experimenting with ideas on how to improve and how to bring you the best possible Geek Den experience. So, we're going to start doing some shorts. We're going to talk about any number of things. Wrestling, horror movies, records, new bands, old bands, all kinds of crazy stuff. And stay tuned, it's going to get really fun here. So today, I'm going to kick it off. I want to talk about the 5 best and worst fictional artifacts. Imagine the polished bone atop the mage's staff reflecting the light of the sun against the wall of the tavern common room, or Damascus forged steel ringing as it's drawn from a scabbard, or the smell of gunpowder filling the air as shots escape the barrel of a gun in a cloud of smoke. Fictional artifacts are, in part, one of the very best parts of reading or being into comic books or watching movies. They can solve a great mystery, defeat a grand enemy, or just be super cool to look at and talk about. Today, I'm going to review the 5 best and worst fictional artifacts from across television, movies, comic books, and literature, in my opinion. Only my opinion. I'll say it again at the end of the episode, but come on over to Punk Rock Geek Den on Facebook and let me have it if you disagree. Tell me what I missed. Tell me what I had that shouldn't be there. Tell me what order I got wrong. Anything you want. I'm a big boy. Mad Mage. I got this. So we're going to kick it right off with the 5th best artifact from a movie, in this case, and that is the automatic 9mm modified Beretta 93R from Robocop. Let's check the boxes, okay? It looks cool. It's huge. It comes out of an automated thigh holster, and the noises there are super cool. And it's one of Robocop's best weapons despite his access to an armory. It's insane. The funny thing about this gun is it was actually supposed to be a Desert Eagle, but when the actor was all done up in the Robocop gear, he was enormous and the Desert Eagle looked like a toy. My favorite thing about it is it looked cool when Robocop would spin it, put it back in the holster. He'd add a tacky, cheesy one-liner in there, but that move, mic drop, baller move, all day. 5th worst. You're going to see a pattern here. I'm really hard on MCU, specifically the movies, so 5th worst artifact from MCU and really all of anything entertainment related is the Infinity Gauntlet. It's a game genie for the MCU. It controls all facets of reality with each of the gems on the hand. And let's be honest, it is tacky to look at. It's enormous. Now, that's not to say I wouldn't own one. If I had access to an Infinity Gauntlet, it would be sitting there right behind me. I would totally have one and proudly display it. But it is fucking ugly. Ugh. And finally, it is overpowered, and it's the worst plot armor. How's this possible? Infinity Gauntlet. How's that possible? Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity Stone, Infinity. It's overdone, and it totally wrecks any possibility of watching a movie inside of a meta level. It's absolute garbage. Outside of the snap, it was an underdeveloped instrument. There could have been movies dedicated to just forging the gauntlet, but we got what we got. Number 4, best artifact, Lucille from The Walking Dead. Bear with me here. It's a baseball bat. It is subtle. In a world where you can have a sniper rifle or a machete or elaborate trap, this is a baseball bat. You can use it pre-zombie apocalypse or into zombie apocalypse. The barbed wire wrapped around the head of the bat, around the trademark, it is ominous, and it is threatening as fuck. Let's be honest. It is epic. It also adds an element of premeditation to the character Negan. Like, what had to happen to get him to wrap it in barbed wire, and why wrap it in barbed wire? The idea is to be able to swing a ton of times, and the barbed wire is just going to get bound up in zombie brains. Don't know, but I love that. And in all of the still photos or any of the marketing, when Negan's standing there with that bat on his shoulder, Who doesn't look badass with the fucking bat on their shoulder? Am I right? And let's pare it all down. That bat is responsible for one of the most gruesome events in television history. Think Glenn's head. It is aberrant. And it's actually one part that does the comic book or the graphic novel a great, great service. Number 4 worst, The Dagger of Time from the Prince of Persia series of video games. If it isn't a DeLorean, I'm not interested in a time machine. It's a ridiculous concept. It's a regular martial weapon. If you apply it into a gaming world, there's no bonuses or buffs for the wielder, and you wouldn't even use it as a dagger. You just use a regular old dagger. It's got an elaborate design, but it's just for manipulating time. It could have been a bag of sand, it could have been scales, it could have been a coin, but instead it's a dagger. And it just, it's a dagger is an intimate martial weapon, typically associated with assassinating and stealth. And in this case, it's making lots of noise. It's a time machine, for crying out loud. And it's a useless artifact. You're already in the ancient world. What do you need to travel back for? I know, future, but trust me, with a dagger coming to 2021, you're not accomplishing a fucking thing. It's a dagger, not a gun, not a bomb, not a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, pardon me. It's stupid. On to the third best. This is from a video game. First entry from a real video game. I'm not a Prince of Persia fan, they're garbage. But the Elder Scroll from the Elder Scrolls series of games. It is a totally unreadable scroll if you are not trained for it. And the lore surrounding this artifact is incredible. There are 4 categories of people who can read it. Those who can't and they see absolutely nothing. Those who understand a little bit about it and they're in the most danger because it will melt their brains and make them blind. And then the last 2 are monks that have studied Elder Scrolls to some degree, and they're able to not only understand what it says, but they could actually use it to take glimpses of the past, the present, and the future. They cannot manipulate time. It's not a time machine. It's more like a looking glass into the past, present, and future than it is anything else. And it's an unassuming scroll. The best artifacts, in my opinion, if they're not over the top flashy, they're unassuming. And a scroll is unassuming. The other power it possesses is the ability to be uncountable. When one was stolen, a librarian undertook to count them all, and couldn't. It was a magical property of the scrolls that made them impossible to catalog with any kind of accuracy. Third worst, back to MCU, the Cosmic Cubes or the Tesseracts. Almost everything in the MCU, as far as artifacts and weapon go, is overpowered. Aside from the useless characters, Bo for Hawkeye and junk like that, everything's got to have the ability to destroy and create everything all the time. And when a Cosmic Cube or the Tesseract ends up in a story, you know for a fact the story's going to center around it. And you know for a fact the good guys are going to find it. I like there to be an element of surprise in any story. But when you involve these big overpowered things in a comic book or in a comic book movie, you know exactly what it's going to be about. And you know the good guys are going to win. It's ridiculous. And you can't suspend disbelief long enough. And despite its ability to be very destructive, it is super, super dull. Like, ridiculously dull. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. They're the top 2 best and worst artifacts. Number 2 best, Dragon Balls from Dragon Ball Z. They can only be used once a year. And once they're used, they scatter all over the universe again, and everybody who wants to use them has to go and find them again, and almost always someone else is looking for them too. So it's never just doop, and in one movie you found them, used them, saved the world, moved on. It's never that simple. If you've watched the old Dragon Ball Z cartoons, these arcs would stretch over like 23 episodes at a time. Suspenseful. And it wasn't always a matter of resurrecting a fallen friend or overpowering the evil villain. They served a different function in each storyline. The gathering in that was quite similar each time, but the end result was always different. And you could watch away from the show and totally not know and be in suspense until it is resolved. And the spheres themselves are indestructible. If a dragon decided he doesn't want anybody else to get a wish off a Dragon Ball, too bad, bud. As long as I can gather them, I can get my wishes, and I can bring back the dead or whatever I want. So fuck those dragons. The second worst. Finally, an artifact that the Marvel movies did not wreck. This is right from the Marvel comic book. It is called the Ultimate Nullifier. It is ridiculous. It can destroy anything at any time at a push of a button, as if the Marvel Universe didn't need another destroy anything artifact. It went and made itself another one. No one knows where it came from, but I do know that the last time it was wielded in a comic book, it was Reed Richards. And as soon as you attach the worst character with the worst powers to anything, it becomes absolute boredom. It is ridiculous, lame, and it looks like a tape recorder. You're going to destroy anything in the universe with something you can put a cassette in? Pass. Gross. Now, to the very best and worst, here we are. The very best artifact, in my opinion, this is going to get the most controversy, so get your pens out and take a note. The Staff of Madjas is the #1 fictional artifact, and it crosses television, movies, comics, novels, if I said that already. Everything. It's the best. It's not too flashy. It's an orb set in a dragon's claw. Like this. It has the ability to cast light and to go dark. If I were falling, I could scream Featherfall and it would slow my rate of descent. Because I'm a weak mage, it gives me a buff to my strength. And it totally augments my strength score. So when I swing it, I'm not just a useless wiener in the party. I can actually do some damage. And it's got an awesome history too. It's named the Staff of Madjas, but Madges had nothing to do with its creation. It was actually created by a Sylvanesti elf in the Age of Dreams, like 300 years before Madges was born. I know I'm getting too much into Dragonlance lore and history here, but just know, this sucker is cool, and in the hands of Raisel and Majir, it actually changed the course of the War of the Lands. Best ever. And for the absolute worst, I also have a problem. And it's not one artifact that's the worst. It is actually everything that is in the possession of one character. Now, I love Bob Salvatore, R.A. Salvatore. He's a hero of mine. He'll always be a hero of mine. But everything this character has is overpowered. He has a sword that protects him from frost or cold damage, a sword that protects him from heat or fire damage. He has an onyx cat that turns into a panther that comes from the astral plane and can kick the absolute shit out of anything. He has anklets that improve the dexterity of his ankles so that when he's sword fighting, his enemies can't get him. And there's all the innate drow abilities and the Puwafi that he's given as a dark elf. Absolutely everything in this man's possession is an absolute garbage artifact because you're adding up, down, down, BA, select start to a character. You don't need infinite lives. It's a novel. On top of that, the dude's been resurrected twice. When I read novels or a series of novels, I like my antagonist or protagonist to stay dead. 2 times this guy's been brought back to life. I love Drist. I love him to death. But he's overpowered. And it's not good. So, now that the props are away, and I have dished out my 10 hot takes for the week, why don't you go to Punk Rock Geek Den on Facebook and tell me where I suck. I'm pretty sure my hot takes here are not everybody's cup of tea, and I want to hear about it from all of you. Mad Mage is ready for some criticism. So, what did I get right? What did I get wrong? We'll see you on the next Geek Den, where we get geeky. Peace all.